Goodness me, that CV sounded impressive. I think some things might have been expanded on there. Put your thinking caps on, because I don't have hotels or gift packs to give you, but I do have 3 copies of my book, Social Media Revenue, for the 3 questions at the end of the session. That's just to bribe you into thinking of up some questions. You know, it was one of the things that hit home for me was that I've been working in social media monetization, social media revenue ever since 2005, when a friend of mine who was a Macquarie banker pre-global financial crisis told me to get a real job, not running online bulletin boards and forums, and said that there was no money in it. And I had that moment where I thought, how can you have millions of people together, millions of customers, and be asking, what's the return on investment? What's the money? How can you have people getting together, showing value and doing things, and then not have, you know, money's just a way of showing value, of creating a stream, I guess, a liquid stream for the kind of things that people are interested in and what they want to share. So I spent quite a bit of time looking at how communities themselves monetize themselves. And one of the things I think is going to be clear is, just as a reminder, that we're not Facebook's customer. We're not LinkedIn's customer. We're not Twitter's customer. We're their products. They produce us. And because they produce us, that's why we sign away so many rights when we sign up for their services. And I think as we go through today, you'll see some other things that are coming out of that. So these are the clients that I've worked with: Middle East Broadcasting in Saudi Arabia. I've done quite a lot of work with Channel 10 over the years, since 2005. MINDEF, the military in Singapore, and so on and so forth. My online name is Silk Charm. I've had that since about 1999, when I worked in a virtual world. In the old days, by the way, we told people, don't give us your personal information. It was actually in our terms and conditions of all the communities I looked after. It was very common online that you were not allowed to use your real name, and you were not allowed to post up real information about yourself. In fact, we blocked and banned people who did. And so I used to use the name Silk Charm because I had a maid that did tailoring in a virtual world, and she's stuck with me. I had other names before then, but she's stuck with me for a long time now. Boring. Alright, so on with social media. Monetization is something that's not always been with us. The very first economies were not barter economies, they were gift economies. And a gift economy is when everybody does chores together, like a family. You know those happy smiling faces of children when you ask them to tidy their room? That's the gift economy. When they have to, everybody has to pitch in and contribute. If the group needs to be fed, everybody goes out hunting and gathering, everybody comes back with what they've got, and they share it with the weak and the elderly and the children and the pregnant and the people who can and the people who can't. A little bit like a health system, national health system, or maybe not. After the gift economies, and we still have gift economies today, so when one partner goes out to work and the other partner doesn't, that's a gift economy. Somebody gives up their career, they're giving up their job in order to stay home and look after the family. And I'm specifically calling that a gift economy, not because I'm weighting one stronger than the other, but because one gets money monetized and the other one is not monetized. We do not yet pay a parent benefit to the stay-at-home partner. I put up a picture of the Knights Templar because what was interesting to me was that during the Crusades, the Knights Templar came up with a really good idea, or really interesting idea, which was if you were going on the Crusades to the Holy Land, you went to the Knights Templar and you gave them your money, and they gave you a chit with a secret code on it, and when you got to the Holy Lands, you handed over this secret code, and in return you got the money back. So this is the first kind of banking system using a virtual currency. Talking of virtual currencies, I used to love playing Monopoly, but my sister always insisted on being the banker, and she used to steal money out of the till. You don't need to know that, but really enjoyed the game a lot. And just to play on last year's presentation, I know a lot of you saw last year's presentation. Just as a reminder, all currency is virtual. Every single thing about currency is virtual. It is a virtual representation of a transaction. There are 3 types of virtual representations. One is a store of value. You've done the transaction, you're given coins. Those coins are a virtual representation of that transaction. You can hold on to them for the future. It's a store of value. It holds the value of the transaction you just did. The next one is a medium of exchange. You've got a cow you want to sell. You want to buy a cup of coffee. You can't take the cow to the cafe and do a swap for the coffee. So you have to use money as a liquid form, as a transaction. It's a medium of exchange in the present. The last one is a future representation of money, which is a menu. And on the menu is buying a tropical island, $15 million, buying an Aston Martin, about the same price, so on and so forth. And as you go down the menu and you jingle your coins in your hand, you say, I can't buy any of these yet, but they're on my menu for the future. So these 3 things are fundamental to the virtual representation of money. And if you were to get out your your Visa card and look at that piece of plastic, or you were to get out a $10 note and look at that piece of plastic, you know that they're not actually worth $10. They're just pieces of plastic, pieces of paper. So everything we do around money is virtual. And it's kind of important when you're thinking about banking that there isn't a locker in your bank with notes in it, with your money in it. Because everything about banking is virtual. We know that from the subprime mortgages. But really importantly, your money is out doing other things. So here's what my presentation's about today. It's about talking to a media group, not about media. It's really about the breakdown of banking and how banking is going to be in the same place that media is in today. That 10, 15 years ago, I remember going to conferences and talking to at conferences about how media would change phenomenally, that it would be the biggest evolutionary shift since, I don't know, printing presses or whatever. People were like, yeah, all right, well, there'll be newspapers and then there'll be these other things that are just like little bits around the side. And of course, we can see now in the entertainment industry, in the music industry, the film industry, but particularly in the media industry, the mediators have been completely disintermediated. If there's a small group over here that know a story, and there's a large group over here that need to know the story, the traditional filterer, the traditional mediator, which is media, has been removed, and these people can now talk directly into these communities. And then the ripple effect and the word of mouth effect means that it gets moved across. The same thing's going to happen with banking, and is happening with banking. And if you think about it, you've got the #Occupy movement, who are saying banking needs to change dramatically. And then you've got peer-to-peer banking and all the different services that are coming up from banking that say that everything needs to change. They're not quite meeting yet, but we're getting there. So your bank statement is about as close as you get to the actual money that's in your bank account. And what's happening in your bank account is there's a small group of people over here that have money. There's a really large group over here, about 99%, who don't have money. And the bank does the matchmaking, does the mediating, in the same way that media did the same thing with stories. Some people have the money, some people need the money, let's matchmake them. Anytime you have a matchmaker, it's ripe for social change, for revolution, which is what social media is doing. And there's my World of Warcraft Visa card. Is this on? Yes. In the bottom left-hand corner, this is the monetization or revenue streams of where the member pays the host. So this is where the member actually is a customer of the host. There's donation systems. I don't know, Kickstarter maybe, but definitely Wikipedia makes, I think, $7 or $8, $9 million a year from donations. Pay as you go. Any social network where you have a joining fee. Freemium and subscription tiers, that's like LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, I think, makes 40% of its revenue from its premium thresholds. and some other things here, which are where the member pays the host. In this corner, this is where external commercial clients pay the host of the community for particular information. Marketing intelligence is the big one at the moment. This is massive. This is the game that Facebook and Google Plus are playing out. Because if you own the profile and you own the information, you can deliver advertising and you can deliver all sorts of other products that commercial clients need against that profile. Social advertising, not keyword advertising. It's got to be social. And now that Facebook is going to start delivering ads, as long as you're logged into Facebook, when you go to check your local newspaper, they potentially can have the ads now based on what you've done on your Facebook profile. So if you've been saying on your Facebook profile, I went surfing this morning, I went surfing yesterday, I'm looking forward to going surfing on the weekend, I'm looking forward to a surfing holiday, Facebook goes, oh, I think they like surfing. You didn't have to put it in your profile, you didn't have to say it anywhere else, you just have to have said it a few times. It becomes one of your keywords. Now when you're looking at newspapers online, you start to get ads based around surfing. So it doesn't matter keyword-wise what the article is that you're reading, it's delivered to you about your interests. So marketing intelligence is a huge area. Zinger, who makes Farmville, say that they're not a games company, they're a marketing intelligence company. Trial affiliate programs, we look at sponsorship, spotlight sponsorship of different sites, and then advertising clearly as part of this as well, particularly social ads. So that's commercial clients to network hosts. This one is members to the network host, like, you know, the host being Facebook, I mean, Twitter. In the top corner, this is the peer-to-peer currency, the peer-to-peer network. The C to, we call it C to C, not B to C, C to C, customer to customer. So the customers do trading and auctioning. We're thinking eBay, Etsy. I mentioned Etsy last year. Let me give you the new figures. Etsy, for those of you that don't know, is where people make fashion. You can have a dress made to your measurements and all that sort of thing. You can get crocheted doilies for your teapot. All sorts of crafty things. 6.9 million craftspeople are on Etsy selling their goods and services. 28 million purchases. They did $1 billion worth of sales last year, and Etsy made $50 million from a clip of every member-to-member sale. So this is not advertising, this is actually providing a platform, moving from providing goods and services to becoming the company as a platform. And all the company needs to do as a platform is provide an area for profiles and reputation and trust, and to provide the escrow payment process so that there are matchmakers in this area. So Etsy's for fashion. There are others. There's Plumbers Crack and Builders Crack to hire plumbers and builders. There's a translator site. If you speak a foreign language, you can go on there and pitch for jobs to do translations. There's even one for lawyers, where you can ask for terms and conditions to be created, and the lawyers all bid and pitch on the jobs. I think I've got a screenshot of that later on. And all the company needs to do, all the network host needs to do, is allow the people to matchmake and then take a clip of the sale by providing the infrastructure that they require. The last one removes the network host out of the equation, and it's the company, external company, directly to the member. The difference between Facebook and the Apple, Facebook apps, you know, F8, Fate, the app platform, and Apple's App Store is 30%. The App Store, Apple take 30% from any apps that are sold through the App Store. Facebook wasn't taking anything. The difference now that Facebook's shifted into is they're now insisting that if you create a third-party app that you put up on their platform, if you want people to make payments through it, they have to use Facebook credits, which is Facebook's virtual currency, remembering all currency is virtual. And now Facebook take 30%. So they're mimicking what Apple have been doing. But this is a way of an external person or external company coming directly through and making sales. when eBay moved into API-based traffic, API stands for Application Programming Interface, and all it means is you can do a transaction on Facebook that's actually occurring in a database at a remote location. So you can buy something from eBay by using the eBay app on Facebook. And once eBay opened up that, they did millions of dollars more in that quarter. In fact, they now do 3/4 of their business off of the ebay.com site through apps, through the APIs. Amazon have done the same thing. They sell books directly through lightboxes on Facebook. And we'll keep moving on this one because I've got some other examples. What is important with these sites is that when you join, you fill out your profile, and you're very conscious of your profile. So you're actively doing reputation management. You think, oh, better use my real name. I won't use my real photo. I won't say where I really live. I'll just say Perth or whatever. And then about 5 minutes later, all of that gets forgotten. Privacy gets thrown to the winds. And we start to connect with friends, and we're not thinking about who can see these things. So one of the things that we join is I want to slap slow-moving people on the back of the head group on Facebook, and then we wonder why our mum said, did you have to join that group? Or what was the other one? I think I said it last year. No, I don't ride a kangaroo to work in America. Do you ride a fat American in the USA? And they've got 3 million Australians on there, and 4 million Americans have joined that group. But it shows a lot about our sense of humour, but we're not necessarily consciously thinking our boss can see that, our mum can see that, and other people can. We gain a particular reputation this way. So whether we're on Builders Crack, or we're on Etsy, or we're on the translator sites, or we're on Rent-A-Coder or Guru.com, or whatever these peer-to-peer outsourcing, open outsourcing sites are, the money that we make is based on the reputation that we gain within that network. And the length of time we're on the network and the testimonials we get from people who've purchased our services on these networks leads to a particular trust factor. I just stretched. Never mind. I want to talk a little bit for a moment about brand equity. This is a great ad. It says, being more of a man used to mean having 16-inch biceps or driving faster than anybody else. Today it means being strong enough to be gentle. Being more of a woman used to mean acting hard to get. Today it means not acting at all. And the very bottom, want him to be more of a man? Try being more of a woman. And this is called branding. And what it actually is selling is smelly alcohol. So smelly alcohol is very cheap. You get alcohol and you put some drops of stuff in it. But so you have to build all this other stuff around it to make it valuable. And you do that by the market positioning statements that you use, and by employing expensive human beings dressed in material that's sewn together with cotton that's also extremely expensive. And by using expensive cars, which are really 4 wheels and an engine and pieces of metal as well, you can use expensive cars, expensive human beings, and expensive fashion to sell expensive perfume. And yet none of those things are actually any more valuable than anything else, except that we've been talked into thinking that it is. It's called brand equity by marketers, and on accounts they talk about the amiralization of the intangibles. It's a technical term which says when you buy fizzy-coloured water called Coca-Cola, there is a disparity between what it actually costs to produce and what you can sell it for, because of the branding and the amount of money that's been spent on the branding. And if anything was to damage the brand, then that is damaging or giving negative brand equity. And the reason why I'm coming to that is because when we talk about monetizing products and services, or even monetizing platforms, it's about how you con people into paying more than what it costs to produce the object, and everything else on top of that's called profit. And what I want to remind you about profit is it's the rip-off area. Well, that's what profit is. It costs this much to do research and development, this much to employ staff, this much for materials, this much for marketing and advertising. Once you take all those costs out of it, profit is the disparity between that and what you can talk the customer into paying for. So what happens with the social economy? What is the future of money? Why is this so important? When you start to pull all these things together, if we look at something like peer-to-peer banking, this is where you go to your social network and you ask them for a loan. So I know I asked this last year, but I'm suffer punishment again. How many people here would lend me $100,000? See me later, you mug. How many people here would lend me 1,000? With interest, hands right up. Brilliant. More this year. See, trust and reputation is built over time. How many people here would lend me $1? Excellent. Thank you. Hands right up. So if I need $100,000, it's the Kickstarter model. I find 100,000 people willing to put up $1. In the case of these, there's interest rates and everything else. So the future of banks is where they shift from providing products and services and they provide a platform instead. They still do all the things that banks do. You have to submit documents to them, you have to open up accounts, you have to do all these kind of things. But at the end of the day, they don't make the decision about where your money is invested or what you do with your money. It's like self-managed funds. It becomes something where you choose. It's the Kiva model, the Grameen Bank model. You choose which loans you're going to fund with your bank account. I knew I was following a lawyer, so I thought I'd put this one up. Odesk has a whole area here where people can hire lawyers. And this particular lawyer is up for $27 an hour. She does work primarily in the Philippines, on Philippines law, but you can definitely find other lawyers as well through this. So the difference, I think, is between, for me, is jobs which are open outsourcing is where you build your portfolio of jobs and you log on every morning and you take on jobs that you want to do, so you don't necessarily have an economy where people are even self-employed. They're micro-employed. It's micro jobs. It's a portfolio of jobs. And then the other side of that is when they do look for funding and when they are looking for money, there's a whole resource, different kinds of resources out there. There's peer-to-peer banking, there's peer-to-peer angel investment, venture capital, Possible, Kickstarter, all these kind of sites. So everything breaks down into micro payments, micro money. There's my little smiley face. My clout score is 66. I have absolutely no idea why. What I would say about these services are, and I know that 99% of people poo-poo them. Oh, who cares about clout? I don't even join up. I'm not interested anymore. But they're starting to creep into the future economy, the social economy. So in San Francisco, when you apply for a position now, they ask you what your clout score is. And I'm hearing about Australian companies that are starting to ask the same thing as well. What's your clout score? And your clout score in the future will imply a lot more than what's your communication skills. Because it's possible that Nike will start to team up with a peer-to-peer health service, and every time you go for a jog, your shoes dob you into clout and say how many miles you jogged and what was your heart rate and all these kind of things. And then when you go to your social network and ask for health insurance, it's possible to check your clout score around health and fitness. And my shoes are still in the back of the wardrobe, so I'm really going to suffer when that happens. But in the Internet of Things, it is possible that this intangibles, this being able to micro-price even the smallest little task like going to the gym and going on the treadmill, they may have a real-world impact on your earning power and also on your spending power. And we're already seeing large automobile companies offering cars to people with high clout scores so that they can tweet and Facebook and blog. And this should not be surprising because we've always had an influence on celebrity culture around marketing. But what's interesting to me now is that the cost of the product is being driven by the purchaser, who it is that you may get a better discount if you've got a higher clout score. So get tweeting. And of course these clout scores are shifting into other areas. Job Advisor, and I don't know if I've got the other one on here, no. Job Advisor, and there's another one called WorkFit, Fit for Work, something like that. They evaluate you as an employer and give you a clout score as for your workplace, for your enterprise. So if you work for Thanks. If you work for Sky News, the employees can come on these sites and rate the employer, and then when you go looking for a job, you can check the rating of the employer and decide based on their clout score whether you want a job with them or not. And somebody like Google rates really highly, and then a small business might be struggling to get a high rating, and then we'll lose staff. This already happens. It's the ability now to tag micro figures, quantifiable figures onto the smallest human activity. So then you can like a boss on Facebook. If you add passion to people power, remember that top left-hand corner, that where you shift everything into a platform? If you add passion to the people power, the customer power, and you put your money, you bank, give loans, and invest where your heart is, together we will grow a fairer future for finance. And this is what the Occupy movement are looking for. The Occupy movement's not going to go away. It's the tip of an iceberg, and we've just got a very small tip of it at the moment. But it is exactly, they're driving for and looking for the kind of solutions that will break down banking as surely as social media has broken down traditional media. I sounded mad when I was saying that in 1995 and 1997, and I'm sure I sound completely mad today, but that's fine. I'm used to it now. With Holvi, you remove the need for a bank altogether. A small business can come here and open up a Holvi account. It builds incomes by selling. You can build income by selling tickets, T-shirts, donations. So you can use all those different revenue streams that I mentioned. See your bookkeeping updated in real time as the sales come through, and it even does the invoicing for you. You show me a bank that does the invoicing. It's disconnected. You have to invoice and then collect the money, and the bank is not part of the invoicing structure. By the way, there's a peer-to-peer Forex foreign exchange service as well. So all the different elements that banking do is breaking down. Facebook, of course, has its own currency. I mean, what country that has 1 billion customers doesn't have its own currency? 1 billion country people? Anyway, Facebook credits economy. And I mentioned this last year, Facebook doesn't own up to a lot of this stuff, although they're starting to now that they're bringing out their own Groupon-style product. Now, Groupon and those other group buying sites say that they're making $15 from every share that you do. When you do the purchase, they take the money, but then when you click share for Facebook, they make an additional $15 because of the number of sales you've done, customer-to-customer sales. So it's customer as advertiser on Facebook, customer tweeting for them. By using this ripple effect and getting customers to do things and asking people to tweet this and Facebook this and that sort of thing, they're making $15. Eventbrite makes about $13 or $14 for a Facebook share. Eventbrite's the social events company, and Just Giving, the not-for-profit, is making, I think, $5 a Facebook share. So when you do a donation and then you Facebook that you did the donation, they tend to, from your friends, collect another $5. So it's this advertising thing. It worked really well for a woman who started up Bank Transfer Day. It's not part of the Occupy movement, but Bank Transfer Day on November the 5th, 2011, she asked people to ask other people to leave their bank and join a credit union. And they got 700,000 people to shift to credit unions, and they shifted $4 or $5 million worth of banking out of the traditional banks into credit unions. And on top of that, 16%, there was a 16% growth in credit union loans to small business, and presumably a substantial reduction for traditional banks as well. So if you're really interested in screwing the bank, go join these kind of movements, because it's an interesting to watch the breakdown structure. The very last thing I want to do, and then I'm going to come off, is I'd like you to Facebook or tweet me the minute you see one of these. It may not look like this, but it will be on Facebook, and it will have something like buy. So it'll have like, share, comment, or buy. And when you click on buy, it could be for cinema tickets, it could be for a movie, or anything that's downloadable, music, anything like that. The minute you click buy, it will use Facebook credits to allow you to purchase, and then it will put in your Facebook stream, Laurel Papworth just bought tickets to the cinema, Laurel Papworth just bought a pair of shoes, Laurel Papworth just did something else, and the next thing I'll see is 15 of your friends just bought that pair of shoes. Don't you dare, they're my shoes. Have you seen this yet? It is out there, it has been for a couple of years, but it's not prevalent. But there's about to be a big shift. So when you see it, wave and say hello, Laurel. Sorry, I just shoot through that as much as I possibly could. Okay.